again. Okay. All right, Crystal. How are you, Crystal?
Hi, I'm doing good. How about you? Sorry, I just got the sound on.
Okay. I'm having issues with my tech today, but we'll figure it out. Let me see here. Okay.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
This is recording, right? So like I can watch this later on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
So
the first thing I want to let you guys know is that you can actually do this on your calculator if you have a graphing calculator. So if you have one of the TI graphing calculators, TI-81, oh, Shazam. I was thinking about you, Nicole, okay? Not the TI-82. I don't think it has it. But the TI-83, TI-84, it has that feature in there. So if you go to the TI-83, 84, right above the decimal point, you will see the imaginary unit, okay? And so if you're going to type this into a graphing calculator, you would do open parentheses in the numerator, 7 minus 2i, close the parentheses, and then divide it by open parentheses in the denominator, close the parentheses. Now, once you get your answer, it's probably going to be a long series of decimals, okay? So to convert it to a fraction, you would hit the math button, math, and then you hit enter 2 times, and then it will pop up the answer as a fraction or in the form of a plus pi, okay? But that's on the 83, 84. So how do you do this without a graphing calculator? Well, without a graphing calculator, guys, you got to find the conjugate of the denominator. So since the denominator is 2 plus, oh shoot, I wrote the wrong thing. This is supposed to be a 7 here. Okay, so 2 plus 7i, we're going to find its conjugate. Its conjugate is going to be 2 minus 7i. And you're going to multiply both the numerator and denominator by 2 minus 7i, okay? Now, let me see here. Whose mic is on? Because I can hear your little doggy in the background. Let me see. Okay, there we go. I'm going to put it on mute. Okay, so remember, guys, if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat, or you can go ahead and turn on the mic and chat with me, okay? So we're gonna multiply. As I was mentioning before, it's best to multiply the denominators first. Why? Because it's easy to multiply conjugates. So when you multiply conjugates, you do the first 2, that's 4. The last 2, 7i times negative 7i is going to give you a negative 49i squared, guys, okay? Now in the numerator, you are multiplying 2 binomials, so you're foiling. So 7 times 2 gives you 14. 7 times negative 7i gives you a negative 49i. And then negative 2i times 2, negative 4i. And then finally, negative 2i times negative 7i gives you a positive 14i squared. Now, remember, whenever you encounter an I squared, you have to convert it to negative 1, guys. Change your I squareds to negative 1. So in the numerator, I am going to simplify this out. First and foremost, I am going to combine, okay, the negative 49i and the negative 4i together. So this will turn out to be in the numerator, 14 minus 53i, okay? And then the 14i squared will become a negative 14. Do you guys see why it's a negative 14? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I squared is negative 1. Negative 1 times 14 gives you negative 14. So now in the denominator, you're going to have 4 plus, why a plus? Because you have minus 49i squared. That negative 49i squared will become a positive 49, since negative 49 times negative 1 is a positive 49, okay? So now in the numerator, the 14 takes away 14, leaving you with negative 53i over 53, and this simplifies to just negative I. And that's it, guys. That's it for this one. Now, I'm going to tell you, the one that you have on the exam is not going to be this easy. The one that you end up with on the exam will have fractional answers, okay? So make sure you know how to do that. And remember, if you have a graphing calculator, you can plug it into the graphing calculator. The small scientific calculators, sometimes they have the imaginary units, but most of them, they do not have the imaginary unit, guys, okay? By the way, ask questions if you're not sure what you're doing, if you're not sure what's going on. And once again, Crystal, you weren't here for this, but problem number 1 is not going to be on the test. And guys, the review has 26 questions. That's because some of the questions are repetitive or I felt they were too easy, so I did not include them on the review. Now, this next one right here, it says it's solved by factoring. Very, very easy problem. Remember, if you cannot factor, guys, use the quadratic formula, because this one, you can use the quadratic formula for it very easily. So for this particular problem, we want to split up the x squared into x times x. Then we want to find 2 factors of negative 28, whose sum is positive 3, which would be a positive 7, a negative 4. And of course, you want to set each one equal to 0, each factor equal to 0 and solve, or just ask the question, what number minus 4 makes the first parentheses 0? Positive 4. What number plus 7 makes the second parentheses equal to 0? Negative 7. So there's your 2 answers. That's easy. Next one. Now, this one right here, guys, listen, it specifically says use the square root property. When you encounter a problem like this, guys, that specifically says to use the square root property, I would use the square root property. I would not go ahead and expand this and use the quadratic formula. It's going to take you too long. Worst case scenario, you get stuck, then yes, use the quadratic formula, but I would not use the quadratic formula. Remember, this one is saying use the square root property because at some point you're going to have to take the square root so you can get rid of that exponent there. You're doing the inverse of the square to get rid of it, guys, okay? So the first step, of course, is to isolate the square term, and it's already isolated. So the next step is to go ahead and take the square root of both sides to eliminate the square. So the power cancels out the square root, leaving you with 4x plus 5. Now, additionally, you have to remember whenever you take the square root of both sides, you're going to get a compound solution, plus or minus the square root of 10. Now, guys, just a reminder, this is a multiple choice test. And so because it is a multiple choice test, guys, use some good old-fashioned common sense on the final exam. Like for this problem right here, we started working it out and we're noticing we have a square root in there, square root 10. There's no way square root of 10 can simplify to something else. So which means the answer cannot be letter A. So get rid of letter A. Work smart, not hard, okay? So now we want to subtract the 5 from both sides so we can solve for x, or just move the 5 over. And when you move it over, you're left with 4x is equal to negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 10. Now, again, I would start looking at my answer choices. Which one has a negative 5 in it? Which one has a negative 5? Both answers must have a negative 5. This one doesn't have a negative 5. This one doesn't have a negative 5. It's a letter D. So just knowing some of these tricks and techniques, guys, can lead you to the correct answer without completing the entire problem. Now, if you want to, you can. You would just simply divide both sides by 4 to isolate your x value. And so this cancels out over here. No problem, Nico. And there's your answer. Negative 5 plus or minus radical 10 over 4. They're just writing it as 2 separate answers, and there's nothing wrong with that, guys, okay? Next one. This one says to solve by completing the square. Now, if you're not comfortable with completing the square, you can use the quadratic formula, absolutely. But the completing the square, guys, is very efficient. This is the ideal candidate for completing the square. The leading coefficient, the number in front of x squared, is 1. And then, of course, you do have that b term that's even. Perfect candidate for completing the square. So to complete the square on this one, the first step, guys, is to move that constant over to the right side. So it's going to become a negative 17. The next step is to actually complete the square. How do we complete the square? We're going to take half of the b term. In this case, the b term is 12. So that's going to give us 6. Then we're going to square the 6, which gives us 36. So now we're going to take that 36 and add it to both sides so we can complete that square. So we're going to add 36 to both sides. Okay, so we're adding 36 to both sides. Now, when we add that 36 to both sides, this is going to leave us, guys, with 19. So automatically, you see that 19 in there? You can start eliminating some of the answer choices, guys, because there's no way, okay, you can get a 17 when you already have a 19. So that means that the answer can't be this one. It cannot be that one. Additionally, letter D, that's only a single answer. And when we're talking about these problems, usually they're a compound solution. They come in pairs. Irrational answers, imaginary answers, they come in pairs. So really, letter D cannot be the solution. Letter B has to be the solution. And so, guys, just like that, you have your answer without completing the problem. But the question I know you guys are asking is, well, how do we get the answer? Okay, so here's how we get it. Negative 17 plus 36 is 19. On the left side, we're going to factor that perfect square trinomial into a binomial squared. You take an x from the x squared, take half of 12, half of the b term. There's your binomial square. Take the square root of both sides. Take the square root of both sides because you're trying to solve for x. So you end up with x plus 6 equals to plus or minus the square root of 19 because the power cancels out the radical, okay? And then the last step is to take that 6, move it over to the right side. So this will simplify to x is equal to negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 19. And that's it. Any questions, guys?
I have a question.
Yes.
So this is where I get a little confused because there's a formula that includes the opposite of b negative over 2a. And then for like completing the square, I get confused with it's whether half of 12 times 2 or half of 12 with a times 2. Negative.
Okay, you do half of the b value, half of 12. The b value is 12. So you do half of it. Okay, and then half of it becomes 6. And then you square the 6. That's how you get 36. Now, the formula you're talking about is the quadratic formula. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Now, obviously, you can use the quadratic formula to solve this problem. So the first step would be to list the values of a, b, and c. A is the coefficient of x squared, that's 1. B is the coefficient of x, that's 6. And then c is the constant term, and that one is 17. And then you would take those and plug them into the formula. And of course, simplify it.
That's because, like, I know what the quadratic formula was already, but there was this, it was like recently one of the chapters where it included negative, it was like b over 2 times a. It wasn't the quadratic formula.
Okay, that one, it is part of the quadratic formula. If you look carefully in the quadratic formula, right there, negative b over 2a. You see?
Yes, I did notice that.
Okay, so that one right there is used when you're looking for the x value of the vertex. If you're given the general form of a quadratic function and you want to find the x value of the vertex, or perhaps you want to find the line or axis of symmetry to a quadratic graph, then you use this formula right there.
Okay, now I see the difference. Okay, that clears up. Thank you.
All right. Next one, guys. Nico, did you have a question? I thought I heard you saying something.
Oh, no. I'm good.
Okay. This one right here, guys, this is a radical equation. We are again trying to solve for x. Unlike the previous problem we just did, where we had a square, we're trying to get rid of it. Here we have a square root we're trying to get rid of, so we can solve for x. So we're just going to do the inverse. To get rid of that square root, we're going to do the inverse of the square root, which is to square both sides. So what we're left with is 30x minus 44 is equal to, now this is a binomial squared, x plus 6 squared. Actually, we just saw that because when we factored the previous problem, it was factored into x plus 6. So if you don't know what to do, guys, just go to the side and work it out. This is saying x plus 6 times x plus 6. That's all it's saying. You multiply it together, okay? So when you expand it, it becomes x squared plus 12x plus 36, okay? So basically, x plus 6 squared is a quadratic equation, and you want to expand it because you're going to have to combine like terms, okay? So you can work it out on the side if you want to. You don't have to if you remember the patterns. And now you have a quadratic equation you need to solve. So to solve this quadratic equation, we need to first isolate the quadratic, set the quadratic equal to 0. So I'm subtracting 30x on both sides. I'm also going to add the 44 to both sides, guys, because I'm trying to set the quadratic equal to 0, okay? So basically this cancels out, leaving me with 0 equals to x squared minus 18x, and this is gonna be plus 80. All right, that's a beautiful quadratic equation. I call my quadratics beautiful because they're factorable. So I'm gonna factor this, guys, into two binomials. This one is gonna factor to x minus 10, x minus 8. So you wanna set each one equal to 0 and solve. So this one right here, guys, will turn out to be x equals to 8 or x equals to 10. Now, be careful, guys. You need to check these because some of them will work out. I mean, you have two answers. There are times when one answer will work and one will not work. So, guys, it's worth it to check the answers, okay? So let me see here, 30, let's check the x equals to 10 first. All right, so x equals to 10, if we check it, I'm just gonna go back into the problem and plug in 10 for every single x. 30 times 10 minus 44 is equal to 10 plus 6, which is equal to 16. This is gonna be the square root of 900 minus, no, 300. Minus 44, which is 256. And the square root of 256 is 16. So that works. The 10 works, okay? So then I'm going to go back and check the 8 to see if the 8 works. So 30 times 8 minus 44 is equal to 8 plus 6, which is 14. 30 times 8, guys, is 240 minus 44. So that's going to give me 196. And the square root of 196, guys, is 14. So that works as well. Okay? So both of them work. Now, on the test, you need to check yours. Because most likely, guys, both of them will not work. This one I don't think is on the test, so we're skipping over number 7. That one is not on the test. This one right here is definitely on the test. And guys, this is the easiest question on the test. So they're telling you to find the value of f of negative 2. So you go on the graph, okay? Go on the graph, find where x is negative 2. X is negative 2 right there. The graph is located right about here. So the question is, what is the corresponding y value at that point? It looks like it's going to be between 4 and 5. So let me just tell you guys, the one on the test is not going to be that ambiguous. It's going to be an exact value. So when x is negative 2, it looks like it's going to be 4.5, okay? So that one is going to be letter B, everybody, letter B. Easy problem. You're just reading the information off the graph. Any questions about this one, guys?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Next, number 9. On this one right here, guys, here's what you have to remember about perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines, they have opposite reciprocal slope. So the equation that's given to you is y equals to 2x. Its slope is 2. So the opposite reciprocal of 2 is going to be -1/2. So if you start looking at the answer choices, guys, the answer cannot be letter C, cannot be letter D. So that leaves you with either A or B. Now, it says that the graph goes through the point 2, 4, whose equation that you're trying to write. It goes through the point 2, 4. So essentially, guys, you're just going to figure out which one of these two equations, either A or B, contains the point 2, 4. Now, if you want to work it out, you would go to the point slope formula and substitute everything in and work it out. Now, here's another catch, guys. Look at this. They want the equation in slope-intercept form. Because they want it in slope-intercept form, letter A is point slope, but letter B is slope-intercept form. So the answer is B. Just using good old-fashioned common sense. And, you know, that's just critical thinking, guys. You really don't have to do that much work to figure this problem out. But I'm going to do it for you anyways. Y1 is 4. The slope is 2. X1 is 2. And then you just work this out. Oh, Shazam. I put the wrong slope, guys. Okay, I put the wrong slope. I put the original slope. I meant to put the -1/2 there. Okay, so let me rectify that. -1/2. And so y minus 4 will equal to -1/2 x. -1/2 times -2 is going to give you a +1. And then you want to add the 4 to both sides. Remember, the problem specifically said they want it in slope-intercept form, okay? So that's y equals 2. So this becomes y equals to -1/2 x plus 5. Shazam, my iPad is acting up, guys, okay? So the answer is...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
How did you get the -1/2?
Oh, remember, we're talking about two perpendicular lines. When you're talking about perpendicular lines, they have opposite reciprocal slope. The slope of the original equation is 2. Okay, so you got to do the opposite reciprocal of that 2. The opposite changes the sign. It was positive, so it becomes negative. The reciprocal of 2 becomes 1/2, because when you have a whole number that is not a fraction, just put it over 1, it becomes a fraction. So you flip that in order to get the reciprocal.
Okay.
You're good with, oh, you're good with that? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thank you.
Next one, guys. This one is one of the composite functions. I'm trying to think. That's why I paused there. I'm trying to think about what's on the test. I think there's going to be just f of g of x on the test, or just the g of f of x on the test, okay? So for this one, guys, they want you to find g of f of x. And this means you're going to substitute the f function, substitute f of x into g of x. So if you're going to substitute f of x into g of x, you go ahead and go into the g function and substitute the -5x plus 6 into the g function for x, guys, because you are taking f of x and you are going to substitute that into the g of x function. So f into g of x. So you're replacing the x in the g function with -5x plus 6, and then you work it out. So you get -10x plus 12 plus 3. So this simplifies to -10x plus 15. And that's it. You guys are good with that?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
All righty. Here comes the next one. Let's see what we got here. Hold on a sec. There we go. Number 11. So this one is asking for us to find the inverse. Now, guys, I want to remind you, when you're finding the inverse, think of inverse operations. Again, there goes that common sense. So if the original problem has a +7, the answer must have a -7. So just knowing that, you can go ahead and eliminate letter B, because there's no -7 in letter B. So get rid of that one, okay? Additionally, guys, this is a cube root function. You're doing inverses of the cube root, so it's gonna have to have the cube. So which means the answer cannot be letter D, guys. Good old-fashioned common sense, okay? Seriously, guys, that's just a little bit of critical thinking. So now, to find the inverse, remember, we're going to replace f of x with y. So this will become y equals to, okay, this thing is getting on my nerves. Y is equal to cube root of x plus 7. You're going to swap x and y, guys. Oh, Shazam. Oh my God. Hold on, guys. My iPad is acting up. It's broken everywhere. So because of that, it's sensitive. Y plus 7. Now we're going to cube both sides to get rid of the cube root. So we get x cubed is equal to y plus 7, because this cancels out with that, and then subtract 7 from both sides, guys. So here you go. And just like that, you're done. Okay, you can include the notation. Notation is important. So you should include your notation. All right, guys, next one. This one is a circle problem. And we have to write this in standard form, find the center, find the radius, okay? So on this one right here, guys, it's nicely set up for us where we have 2 right here, perfect square trinomial, x squared plus 14x plus 49 on the left side. On the right side, on the left side still, y squared minus 6y plus 9 is also a perfect square. So pretty much all we have to do is factor, okay? Factor the 2 perfect square trinomials and then work it out. Now, this is not a very good example. I'm going to show you something else, guys. Okay, I'm going to show you something else. Give me a moment, okay? Let me finish this one out. So the x squared plus 14x plus 49, when you factor it into a binomial squared, you take an x from the x squared, half of 14, that gives you 7. Same thing, guys, with the perfect square trinomial for the y's. You're going to take a y from the y squared, take a y from the y squared, and then half of -6 is going to give you -3. Okay? If I can write it down. Yeah, this iPad. Hold on a second. Okay, this thing is acting up. Okay, there we go. Shazam. Okay, I'm just gonna drop it over here, guys. I'm gonna drop it over here. Why? Nope, it's not letting me write. Okay, I'm just gonna drop it over here, okay? Y minus 3, y minus 3 squared, okay? Now, guys, listen. Essentially, x minus 7 squared plus y, oh my gosh, this iPad. Oh Lord, okay, I'm done. So guys, listen, once we get it here, it's already in the format. You wanna find the center. The center is the opposite because you're inside the parentheses. Those represent horizontal and vertical translations, okay? So because it's inside the parentheses, you gotta do the opposite. So for the center, guys, the opposite of those values inside the parentheses, that would be a -7, and a positive 3 for the center. -7 and a positive 3 for the center, okay? Now, if you're looking at the answer choices, guys, the first thing you should notice, okay, our equation is x plus 7 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals to 64. So the first thing I would do is eliminate some of the answer choices, like letter B cannot be the correct answer. Letter C cannot be the correct answer because it's got the wrong equation. So that leaves me with either D or letter A. And then I gotta find the corner of the center, opposite of what's inside the parentheses. So the positive 7 becomes a -7, and then of course the -3 becomes a positive 3. So already I should have enough information to be able to get the answer. The answer is going to be letter A, but then you're looking at the radius. Now, the radius is going to be 8. Why is it 8? Because you're taking the square root of the 64, okay? Let me go ahead and do this for you guys. Let me show you this. And then if this iPod will cooperate with me. No, it's not cooperating with me. Shazam. What is up with my tech today? Okay, so let me see if I can get it on here for you guys so I can show you. I might not even be able to get it on here. Okay, so here's what I wanted to show you guys, okay? When you're looking at the equation of the circle, guys, it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. So that 64 represents r squared. But what are you looking for? You're looking for just r. So you do have to take the square root of the 64, guys, in order for it to come out to a radius of 8. So that is why we have to go ahead and take the square root. All right, now, I might have a little problem here, guys, because I have to clear. Oh, it did clear. Perfect. Okay. I'm trying to stop using my iPad because it's acting up. It's acting funky. All right, guys. So here comes another one. Oh, wait a minute. I did say I was going to do something else with you guys. So hold on a second. Let me see here. Hold on. Let me do this. Because the one on the test, guys, requires a little bit more work than that. So let me go ahead and show you something else. All right. So let's say the original problem you had, guys, was this instead. Okay. Let's look. X squared plus 14x is equal to, well, no, let's do the next part of it. I'm going to leave a blank space here, okay, because I want to show you how to complete the square. If you get this problem on the test where they did not complete the square for you, you have to do it, okay? So on this one right here, guys, let's say the problem was this instead, okay? So the first thing you would have to do, listen, take half of 14, half of 14, half of 14 is going to be 7. And then you want to take that 7 and square it, okay? So that's going to give you 49. Now that 49, you're going to add it to both sides. So you add it over here, whatever you do to one side, you must do it to the other side, okay? This is more like what your problem is going to look like on the test, everybody, okay? So you add the 49 to both sides. So essentially, I'm completing the square on the x term. I'm also completing the square on the y term. This is a y term here. So for this one, I'm going to do half of -6, okay? And the reason why I'm doing this, guys, is because your problem on the test is similar to this one, okay? Closer to this one than the problem right here, okay? So half of -6 is going to be a -3. And then, of course, you're going to square that -3. When you square the -3, what do you get? You get +9. So you're going to add that +9 to both sides. And so after doing all of this, you add up everything. This is going to give you a 64. And then, of course, on the left side, you have a perfect square trinomial here, another perfect square trinomial here. So now you have to factor them into binomial squares. How do you get your binomial squares, guys? This is the shortcut to getting your binomial square. You take an x on the x squared, half of 14, and then take a y from the y squared, and then half of -6, and there you go. Okay, so there's your standard form of the equation. It's not a difficult process, guys. This is just completing the square twice. That's all. But you got to know how to do that. And of course, use some good old-fashioned common sense. Wait a minute, that's positive 14. Half of positive 14 is 7. Let me see which one has 7. This one has positive 7. This one has positive 7. The other ones, they do, but it's not with the x. You see what I'm saying? Common sense, guys. Use some good old-fashioned common sense. It's multiple choice after all. Number 13, everybody. For number 13, let us see what it says. The owner of a video store, blah, 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 blah. Okay, they want us to find the lowest cost to the nearest dollar, okay? Lowest cost as in the minimum cost, okay? Where do we go to find a minimum value? We go to the vertex. Now, Crystal was asking about this formula earlier, okay? The minimum cost is the y value at the vertex. How do we find the minimum cost? We need the minimum items that must be sold to get the minimum cost. So guys, you're gonna have to go to the vertex. So you need to find the x value of the vertex first, and then use that to help you find the y value of the vertex, which would represent the minimum cost or the lowest cost. The lowest cost is the same thing as the minimum cost, all right? So guys, on this one right here, we're gonna start off by using the formula x equals to the opposite of b over 2 times a, okay? The b value here is -30, so the opposite of it would be a positive 30. And all of this will be divided by 2 times a. A is 2. So you're gonna go ahead and plug that into a calculator. Now, oh, Shazam, I'm ahead of myself, guys. I just went ahead of myself there. I did the multiplication in my head already. All right, so plug that into a calculator, guys. That's gonna give you 7.5. So this is how many items must be sold. Hold on a second here. 30 divided by 4, that is 7.5, but we can't do 7.5. Hold on, guys. Da, 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 da. 7.5. What is up with this problem? Okay. All right, we're gonna go with the 7.5, guys. Let's see if this works out. Are you guys with me? No? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna take the 7.5 and plug it in here to calculate the minimum cost. So we're gonna do C of 7.5, C of the 7.5. I hate writing on the computer screen because this is really difficult to do. And then that's going to be 2 times, somebody will have to grab a calculator and do the calculation, 7.5 I'm going to square that, and then minus 30 times the 7.5, and then plus 540, and that'll give you the minimum cost. Okay, guys? So throw that on a calculator. By the way, I often tell students this. If you study the review, guys, you should be able to solidify a 70% or better. And a 70% or better is equivalent to getting 21 questions right out of 30 for you to get that 70%. So hopefully you guys did that little formula that lets you know how well you have to do on the final exam to get the grade that you desire for the class. And make sure, guys, you get all your work completed by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, So when you come in for the final exam, you know exactly where you are with your grade. Okay, so this one, guys, comes out to 427.50, which rounds out to 428. Okay, ask me questions. If you didn't get anything, the question you should be asking yourself is this: if I see this particular problem, which you are going to see on the final, will I be able to do it? No questions? Okay, guys, I'm moving along. All right, here's the next one. Remember, you can also drop your questions. Oh, there's somebody waiting, Shazam. Okay. Uh-oh. Nico. Nico, I didn't notice that.
Hi, sorry. My internet went out.
Yeah, I hear you,
I had to
man.
redo the router.
I hear you. Okay. All right, guys. Here's the next one. Find the x-intercepts of the polynomial function. Now, this one is already in factored form for you. So all you have to do is eyeball the polynomial, and you can figure out the x-intercepts, guys. So there's 3 x-intercepts: -1, +5, +1. Well, let me see here. All the answers have the exact same thing. Now, you know, hold on a second. Okay, let me grab that. Okay, so you know your zeros, your x-intercepts are -1, +5, and +1. So now the next step, guys, is to go ahead and figure out, oh, wait a minute, this one does not have the +5. And this one also does not have the +5. You see how I'm narrowing down the number of answer choices I have just by knowing the zeros or the x-intercepts? That right there, guys, is going to change things up for you, okay? And then the next part of this is to determine whether or not the graph is going to cross or touch at each one of these zeros, at each one of these x-intercepts. So now you need to check the multiplicity. The multiplicity is the power on the factor that leads to the 0, guys. And the only one we really have to worry about is this one right here, okay? The power on this one is 2, which led to the 0 right here. So that one right here is going to touch on the x-axis because the multiplicity for this one is 2. And since the multiplicity is even, it means that the graph is going to touch the x-axis at x equals to 1 and then turn around. So the only one that does that is a +1. So the answer for this one has to be letter B, okay? If the multiplicity is odd, like this one and this one, the graph is going to cross when the multiplicity is odd. So it's crossing for -1 and it's crossing for +5 as well. Okay, so that one was easy. Do we have an end behavior problem on the exam? I don't recall, guys, but if it's on here, then that means that we have it. Remember, so far I skipped over 2 problems that are not going to be on the test, okay? Now, this one right here, guys, this is a problem which can be done using synthetic division. You do not have to use long division. The one on the test is specifically designed for synthetic division. So this one says use long division. Please do not use long division, okay? So the first step to doing this one right here, guys, is to find the divisor. What value makes the denominator 0? The divisor is x plus 3. What value makes it equal to 0? That would be a -3. Next part, we want to go ahead and list the coefficients of every single term of the polynomial. Well, the x cubed has a coefficient of 5. The next term down, the next power down should be x squared, but it's not there. So we're going to fill in a 0 to hold its place value. That's for the x squared. The coefficient of x is -5. I mean 55, Shazam. And then last but not least, the constant is -30. Now, guys, one of the things I like to do every once in a while, if I'm feeling somewhat lazy, is to go ahead and do synthetic substitution. So I can go directly to the remainder, meaning I can take the -3, plug it in here for every single x, and see what my remainder is, and that'll determine which one of these I can eliminate right off, okay? So if you want to be lazy about things, you can do that, but I'm just going to bring down the 5 and do my synthetic division. 5 times -3 is -15, and then I'm going to add them up together. Now, guys, look, start looking at the answer choices. If I'm adding 0 and -15, that's going to give me a -15. So looking at the answer choices, we're working smart, not hard. That means that the answer cannot be this one. It cannot be that one. It cannot be that one. So just like that, that's your answer. But if you want to make sure it's verified, go ahead and keep working on it. -15 times -3, that's going to give you 45. And then 45 and -55 adds up to a -10. And -10 times -3 is +30. So when you add them up together, look at that right here, guys. There's no remainder. The remainder is 0. So you don't even have to complete the problem all the way in order to come up with the answer. Okay, you guys are good?
I have a question. It's not related to synthetic division, but related to like a graph. A problem that always confuses me is whether it falls left or right, and I see that there's a 5 and a 3. Like, could you tell if it falls left or right by like the coefficient and the degree?
Well, that's what you do look at to determine if it falls left or right. For this one right here, the degree is odd. It's a 3rd degree polynomial in the numerator. So yes, one end of the polynomial will rise up towards positive infinity and one end will go down towards negative infinity. Now, because the leading coefficient is positive here, okay, think about positive slope. So which means it's going to rise on the right and it's going to fall on the left. Now, the other thing, Crystal, if you have a graphing calculator, I said this is the class prior to you coming in. If you have a graphing calculator, you can actually type this into the graphing calculator. This is not what we're doing with this problem, by the way, Crystal. We're not looking at end behavior, but you're asking the question, so I'm answering it. If you type this polynomial into the graphing calculator, you cannot see the entire graph on the screen. You do a zoom, hit the number 0. It'll show you the entire graph so you can actually see what it looks like when it's graphed. It can tell you what the end behavior is going to be. Okay?
Sounds good.
Now, guys, I'm just going to tell you, if you find a graphing calculator, what? It's still recording? Okay. Wow. All right, guys. Let me bring back the assignments. Okay, let's see if it comes up. All right, there we go. Okay, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is the most challenging question on the test, okay? And I think when we're working through these problems in chapter 3, I told you guys, yeah, you're going to see this on the final exam. Okay, so first and foremost, this is what I'm gonna recommend to you. If you have a graphing calculator, definitely type this into the graphing calculator. As in, go to your Y editing screen, Y equal to, type this in, hit graph, so you can see where this graph is intersecting the x-axis at. By doing that, it will give you the 2 exact values. If you notice, all 4 of these answer choices, guys, they have 2 exact values, okay? So once you do that, you know the 2 exact values. You can use those 2 exact values along with synthetic division. So you can simplify the problem down to a 2nd degree polynomial and then solve it either using the quadratic formula or using completing the square. So what I'm gonna do right now is ask you guys to check out some of these answer choices to figure out which one of these, okay, has the correct exact values, okay? So essentially, what I'm asking you guys to do is to take the 2, plug it in for every single x, so we can figure out, does 2 make the polynomial equal out to 0? Or is it something else that's going to make it out to equal to 0? So if the 2 makes it equal out to 0, guys, that means that the answer is either going to be B or C. If the 2 doesn't work, then go to the -2 and see if the -2 works. And why am I starting with the +2? It's because, guys, it's easier to work with a positive than it is to work with a negative. So I'm trying out the 2 to see if it makes the polynomial equal out to 0. And if it does, then that means that my answer is either going to be B or C. Now, guys, I just tried it. It did not work. Shazam. Okay, so let me try the -2 now. Let's see if the -2 works. Oh, wait a minute. No. Did anybody type it into a calculator?
Would it work for the TI-82?
Yes.
Oh, all right, good. All right, in that case, hold on. Give me a second.
Absolutely. Times 4 plus 18 times 2 minus 108. Nope, it didn't work. All right, let's try this one right here with the -2. 7 plus 18. Okay, so guys, the 2 doesn't work. So what does that mean? It means this, okay? The answer cannot be, oh, Shazam. I'm back on my iPad again, guys. So the answer cannot be this one. It cannot be that one, okay? It can't be B and it cannot be C. So the answer is either going to be A or D. So this is the other thing you have to consider, guys. So it's telling you that either A or D will be the answer. And also it's telling you you have 2 exact values, -2, +3. So now you're going to go ahead and go to synthetic division, guys. Go do your synthetic division with the -2, +3. So you can reduce this 4th-degree polynomial down to a 2nd-degree polynomial. Okay, it doesn't matter which one you do first, -2 or +3, it doesn't matter. Either way, you'll get the same answer. So -2, I'm gonna use that as my divisor the first time around. The coefficient for x to the 4th is 1. Coefficient for x cubed is -7. Coefficient for x squared is 18. Coefficient for x is 18. And then -108. So this is the first synthetic division. Drop the 1. 1 times -2 is -2. We add, we get -9. -9 times -2 is +18. We add, we get 36. 36 times -2 is going to be a -72. Okay, if this thing would write, it's not writing. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
No.
Oh,
I do
no.
not
What?
see any writing on the screen.
Yeah,
What
no,
the
I
heck
can't
is
see
going
that.
on? Oh my God, why didn't you guys say something?
I thought you were like
Shazam.
doing it on your own, and then you were like, like narrating.
No,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
no way. I would never do that. Why isn't it appearing on the screen?
Does it show on your screen?
That's why I said what I said, because it wasn't showing up on my screen. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Let me try this again. Hold on a second. Okay, there, but it's still not showing up on your screen. I don't know what's going on with this iPad. I'm on the iPad again, okay? So let me go ahead and do it over here on the screen, okay? All right, guys, coefficients. X to the 4th is 1. X cubed is -7. Then we got 18. And then another 18. Then -108. Okay. And remember, guys, the answer cannot be B. It cannot be C. Why am I using -2? because those are the exact values, I'm going to use synthetic division with them. So I can simplify this down to a second degree polynomial and then solve it. Drop the 1. 1 times -2 is -2. We add, we get -9. -9 times -2 is positive 18. I don't know what I was trying to write there. Positive 18. Add them together, you get 36. 36 times -2 is -72. Okay, we're going to add those two together and we're going to get a -30. No, not -30 something. Okay, that's going to be a -48, I believe. No, -54. Okay, you guys check me on that. Okay, and a -54 times -2 is positive 108. So that's going to give us 0, guys. Okay, we expected that because -2 is a 0 of the polynomial. Now, that was the first synthetic division. We're going to go straight into the second synthetic division, guys. Straight into the second one, okay? Here comes the second one. What are we using for the second one? The other 0, the positive 3. So you're going to go right over here with the positive 3. Carry out the synthetic division. Drop the 1. 1 times 3 is 3. We add. We get -6. -6 times 3 is -18. We add. We get positive 18. 18 times 3 is going to be 54. We expected this because it's a 0 of the polynomial. All right, guys, we're almost there. So now we've taken this 4th degree polynomial, reduced it down to a 2nd degree polynomial. So now we're going to go ahead and plug in the variables. X squared followed by x. So the 2nd degree polynomial we have is x squared minus 6x plus 18, set it equal to 0, and solve. So now we're going to use completing the square to solve it. Why completing the square? Because this is a perfect candidate for completing the square. The b term is even, the leading coefficient is 1. So we're going to take that 18, move it over. Okay, so it's going to become a positive 18. And by the way, guys, I mean -18, I'm sorry, -18. And then we're going to complete the square by taking half of 6, which is 3. 3 squared is 9. Now, once you get here, guys, you need to start thinking, okay? If I add these two together, that's going to give me a -9. At some point, I'm going to have to take the square root of a -9. There's no way I'm going to get a -4i from that or positive 4i from that. I'm not going to get 4 from that because the square root of a 9 is 3. So there's your answer right here. But if you want to finish it out, you can, although all you want is the answer. So use that good old-fashioned common sense to get to the answer, which we already found. But if you want to finish it out, this is how you finish it out. Take on x from the x squared. Half of -6 is -3. And then, of course, there's your binomial squared. Now you want to go ahead and take the square root of both sides. And by taking the square root of both sides, guys, square root of -9 gives you a plus or minus 3i, because it's a negative inside the radical. And then, of course, this simplifies to x minus 3. And then the last step would be to add the 3 to both sides, or just move it over to the right side. So you get positive 3 plus or minus 3i. And there you are. This is the longest problem, the most challenging question on the test, guys. Seriously, right there. Don't forget to bring a Scantron with you. It is multiple choice. Go
I have
ahead.
a question. All right, so is the final multiple choice, right? That's multiple choice, right?
Nico, you haven't been.
I'm just making sure. I'm just making sure.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay.
30 multiple choice questions. All right, guys. On this one right here, they're asking for the vertical asymptote. Remember, the vertical asymptote is that value, okay? To find the equation of the vertical asymptote, look for the value that makes the denominator 0. In this case, it's going to be 4, okay? So then the vertical asymptote would be x equals to 4. And this is another one you can plug into your graphing calculators. If you're going to plug this into the graphing calculator, you would do X, Y equal, hit your Y equal button, and then you're going to do X divided by, open parentheses, X minus 4. You will see where the graph breaks off, okay? Where it gets closer and closer to that point of discontinuity at X equals to 4, and it cannot get there, so it breaks off and goes to those extreme values, okay? Now, before we move on from this one, guys, I want to also address the horizontal asymptote, because horizontal asymptote is going to be on the exam as well. So vertical asymptote, what value makes the denominator 0? Okay, horizontal asymptote, completely different. For the horizontal asymptote, this is asking you to look at the degree in the numerator, degree in the denominator, and then determine what your horizontal asymptote is going to be. So the degree in the numerator is 1, degree in the denominator is also 1, since they're equal to each other. The horizontal asymptote will be y equals to the leading coefficient in the numerator, the number in front of x in the numerator, over the lead coefficient in the denominator, which is also 1. So when you simplify this, the horizontal asymptote will be 1, okay? This problem is not asking for that. It's asking simply for the vertical asymptote, but you will see a vertical asymptote question on the test, guys. So that's why I included that part of the problem. Next one, everybody. On this one right here, they want us to find the horizontal asymptote. Okay, your turn, guys. What's the horizontal asymptote? Anybody? Y equals to, oh, just tell me which letter. I forgot this is multiple choice.
B.
Yes, this one is B. Why? Because the degree in the numerator is 2. Degree in the denominator is also 2. The degrees are equivalent. So you take the lead coefficient in the numerator, which is 6, over the leading coefficient in the denominator, which is 3, and you simplify that. So you get 2. All right. Remember, you can also type this into your graphing calculators, and the graphing calculator will show you where the graph is starting to flatline. You can go to the table and see what happens as the graph approaches those values, okay? As the graph tries to get to y equals to 2, it gets closer and closer to that 2, but will never get there. All right. Now, this one right here, guys, it's asking you to solve this polynomial inequality. Now, personally, worst case scenario, I don't know how to do this problem. Plug and chug it, guys. Guess and check it. For example, on this one right here, if I were to take 0 from letter C, 0 is included in letter C. If I plug it in here for every x, I get negative 15 is greater than 0. That's false. Negative 15 is not greater than 0. So the answer cannot be letter C. Okay, so you get rid of that one. Then you move on, let's say, to the one that includes positive 4. Does the 4 work? 4 squared is 8. 2 times 4, 4 squared is 16. Shazam. 16. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 and 16 is 24. 24 minus 15, that works. It gives you a positive. A positive is greater than 0. Yes. So that means that the answer cannot be A. It's either going to be B or it's going to be D. So guys, use some of that common sense. But to do this problem, this is what you want to do. It's already isolated. Since the polynomial is already isolated, you're going to factor. By the way, I don't even have to do all of this, guys, because I already see the boundary values, the critical values on there, but I'm just going to do it so you guys can see. I am factoring the polynomial so I can find the boundary values, and the boundary values of this one are going to be x equals to 3, x equals to negative 5, okay, x equals to 3, x equals to negative 5. By the way, remember, I've already eliminated this interchoice, this interchoice. This one doesn't have the negative 5 boundary value. Get rid of that one. So the answer is actually D. But how do you know it's D? Guess and check it, okay? You need to go ahead and test the information out. When we plug in 0, it made this region false. So if this region is false and the truth values are alternating, that would mean this region is true and this region is true right here, okay? So there's your answer, guys. And you don't even have to do much more than that. Because once you have the graph, basically you have your end of a notation too. You just have to express the graph in end of a notation. That's it. Guys, don't work so hard. You need to work smart on a multiple choice test. This is a multiple choice test. And so you do not have to complete all of the problems in order for you to get to the correct answer. All right, this one, I remember talking about it on Tuesday, where they give you a logarithmic function and you have to find the domain. Remember, the domain of the log is restricted to all x's greater than 0. So essentially, you cannot take the log base of a negative value or of 0. Everything inside the parentheses here must be greater than 0. So you want to go ahead and take what's inside the parentheses, guys, x minus 9, set it greater than 0, greater than, not greater than or equal to, and solve it. So you want everything greater than positive 9. And that would be letter D. Worst case scenario, guys. Let's say you didn't know how to do that one. You can plug this into your graphing calculator. Additionally, you can start plugging in some values and see what happens. Like if you plug in 0, that's going to give you a negative 9. You can't have, okay, the log base of a negative value. So it cannot be this one. All right. This one goes from negative 9 to positive infinity. So the 0 is also included in here. So it can't be that one either. And this one right here, guys, same thing. The 0 is included over here. So hello, it cannot be this one. Okay, you see, common sense, good old-fashioned common sense. All right, guys, next. Let me see here. Okay, so look at this one right here, guys. Do you need help with this one? This was one of the questions we did in class on Tuesday. You guys are good on this one?
Can you review this one?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Okay, so these are the properties that you, the log properties to expand the logs, okay? So you have one log base. When they ask you to expand it, you have to have 2 or more log bases when you expand it, okay? What you have to remember is that if you have multiplication, multiplication becomes addition, division becomes subtraction. So in the numerator, you have x times y squared. That's multiplication. Multiplication is going to become addition, so which means you're going to have log base b of x plus something. Log base b of x plus something. Additionally, guys, when you do log base b of y squared, log, I don't want to write all of these things down, but I'm going to have to write it down. Log base b of y squared, the positive 2 right here, guys, is going to become a coefficient of the log, okay? So what am I looking for? I'm looking for something that says 2 times log base b of y. And these 2, they don't say that. So that leaves me with option B or option C. Additionally, guys, this is being divided by z to the 6th. Division becomes subtraction. So again, since division is subtraction, I'm left with these 2 answer choices right here. So there's only one possibility it could be. And then what you have to realize is that the exponent on the z, guys, is going to become the coefficient of the log. So pretty much what I'm telling you is this, okay? When you're working on this test, guys, be smart about how you're working, okay? So use some good old-fashioned common sense here to help you get to the answer without having to complete the entire thing, okay? So right here, the 6 is going to become the coefficient, so that's why we have the 6 in front of the log here. And of course, division is subtraction, multiplication is addition. So guys, listen, review, and you should be able to do just fine. I would definitely do that formula to make sure I know what I have to get on the final exam to solidify my grade. And then aim for that when you come in for the exam. Now, if you guys remind me, when you done with your exam on Tuesday, remind me and I will grade it right away for you to let you know how well you did. And I'll also put the grade on the computer so you know exactly what you have prior to leaving. The final is worth 20% of your overall grade. All right, guys, on this one, we actually need to work it out. So let's go ahead and work it out. By the way, worst case scenario, you don't know how to do this one, you can plug and chug it. Take the answer choices, plug them in for X, and see which one makes the problem true, okay? But to solve this one, guys, we're going to take the natural log of both sides. Take the natural log of both sides. All right, then we're going to apply the property of log. Take the natural log of both sides. And so you're going to end up with natural log 4 here. The exponent, that's the property, guys, the exponent becomes a coefficient right there. So you're gonna have x plus 8 times natural log of e is equal to natural log 4. Now, next, the other thing is this, guys. Natural log e is always equal to 1. So essentially, this cancels out, leaving you with x plus 8 equals natural log 4. So to solve for x, we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. So we get natural log 4 minus 8. But if you notice, the answer choices are decimals. So which means you got to grab your calculator and plug this into the calculator. Natural log 4, and then close the parentheses, make sure you close the parentheses, minus 8, and that gives us negative 6.61. So that one's the letter A.
Can you do that on the GI82?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Try it. All right. Oh, guys, this one is so easy. You just have to convert this to an exponential equation and then solve it. The 2 is the base, x is the answer, 5 is the power. So to solve this one, guys, we're going to do x is equal to?
25. Oh, wait.
No.
Sorry, I thought you were asking something else. My bad.
Okay. That's it. 2, the base is 2, the power is 5. All right, here's the next one. On the left side, you got to condense that into a single log base. So it's going to be log, if this thing would write, log. And then, guys, it's subtraction. Subtraction becomes division. 5 plus x over x minus 4. Now, because you have the same log base on both sides, they're equivalent to each other. That makes the arguments equivalent to each other. So you end up with the equation 5 plus x over x minus 4 equals to 4. And then you solve it, okay? Now, this is a nice little proportion. Just cross multiply and solve it. Okay, so you get 5 plus x is equal to 4 times x minus 4, which would give you 4x minus 16. And then subtract, okay, my hand's getting tired here, guys, because I'm using my fingers to write on the screen. So this gives you 5 is equal to 3x. Okay, you guys are going to have to finish this because my finger's getting tired here. It's 7, guys, okay? It's 7. By the way, guys, this one, yes, you can guess and check it. All you have to do is plug in that 7 and see which one gives you, plug in the answer choices and see which one gives you the answer. By the way, I hope you notice, letter C here, no solution. That's just an indication, guys. You need to be checking your work because sometimes you find an answer, okay? it doesn't make the original problem true. Especially with these log equations, always check these solutions with the log equations, okay? Check them. All right, everyone, almost there. Just a couple more and we'll be done. This next one right here, let me see, where is it? Okay. The function A equals to A sub 0 models the amount in pounds of particular radioactive material stored in concrete vault. We did not get to go over the word problem. Remember that? Where X is the number of years since the material was put into the vault. If 200 pounds of the material are placed in the vault, how much time? Oh, Lord. Okay. Okay. You guys are still there?
Yes.
Yes.
How much time will need to pass for only 56 pounds to remain? Round your answer to the nearest whole number. Okay, guys. So 200 pounds of material are placed in the vault. So A sub 0, the initial amount would be 200. Okay. They want to know how much time will remain. X is the number of years. So they want you to solve for X. After 50, for only 56 pounds to remain. So which means you go into the formula and you're going to substitute 56 for A, that's the total remaining amount, 200 for the initial amount, A sub 0, times E raised to the negative 0.0155. Oh my God, I'm trying to write on the screen, guys. This is really difficult. Okay. We need to solve for X, guys. Whenever you encounter a variable in the exponent, you're trying to solve for it, you gotta use the inverse. What's the inverse of the exponential functions? What's the inverse of the exponential functions, guys? Oh, Shazam. The logs.
The log.
Are you guys still there? Yes, yes, the logs, okay? So guys, this is where we are. Because I don't wanna have to keep writing over and over again, I'm gonna cut some steps here. I'm gonna do some shortcuts, okay? So here it is, guys. I am going to take the natural log of both sides because this is a lot of writing on here, especially when I don't have a utensil to write. So I'm going to take the natural log of both sides. Notice I'm enclosing the fraction inside a set of parentheses because I'm taking the natural log of the entire fraction. And then of course this is gone. So I'm going to take the natural log of E to negative 0.01155. All right, guys. Now, listen to me and listen well. I am going to now apply the property that says when you have natural log of e to the x, natural log e cancels out and you're just left with the power. Are you guys with me on that?
Yes.
Okay, one person is with me. Awesome. Okay, we're almost there, guys, seriously. Because, guys, the natural log e cancels out, you're just left with the power. That's one of the rules of the natural log, okay? So now, all I have to do, listen to this, everybody, is grab the calculator, okay? And then I am going to do natural log of 56 over 200 and then divide by the negative 0.01155. So grab your calculators and throw this on the calculator, guys, to get your answer, as in the length of time it's going to take for 56 pounds of this substance to remain. Okay, so let me go ahead and throw this on here. Be careful when you're typing in that natural log. So you're going to do natural log 56 divided by 200, close the parentheses, and then divided by negative 0.01155. Bam. So there's the answer. Was that the last problem? I think that's the last problem. Yeah, that's the last problem, guys.
Wait, could you not erase this for a second?
No,
please?
I'm not. And I
Thank
can
you.
still be recorded, by the way.
And you said there would be 30 questions?
Yep.